So you want to start a side hustle in Germany? Well, here's my spicy take. I mean, it's not so spicy, but I would say you should just start. Really, just start. Don't overthink it. Because here's the thing: what stops a lot of people from starting is, you know how it is. You want to start something, but you're in Germany and you think you have to research everything, overthink everything, plan everything out just to make sure you're not doing anything illegal. I totally understand how that feels. I've been there many, many times. But for what I would say is, if you want to start is a side hustle, just start. Researching takes longer than you might think. Getting all your papers might take longer than you might think. So instead of waiting for the perfect time to start, I would say just start. Set up your Etsy shop. Tell people that this is what you want to do, so that by the time you're ready to go to the amt and make everything legal, you have all the supporting documents you need. And in this video, I will share my experiences, how I was able to work and legally have a side job and have everything set. Yes, I know that I said you should just start, but if there's anything you should have a look at before you even move to the next level or the next step, it's your visa. You need to have a look at if you're on a blue card visa, if you're on a visa that only specifies that you have to work with your current employer, or you have an additional paper in your visa that says you are not allowed to do extra work. So those are the things that I think you need to have a look at. But what I would say is, like I always say in every video, go to your amt and ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. Be as annoying as you can because it will save you so much headache in the long run, really. So here's what I did. Let me set the scene. The year is 2000, I think 17, 18 or 19. I'm not sure. One of the three. Something in between those three. I was working a full-time job at an ad agency in Hamburg, and by then I had learned a new skill, calligraphy. And I was really good at it. I mean, I liked the work, and I liked how every evening after work I could come home, relax, and just write away. And friends of mine would always say, why don't you just offer this as a service? And I just thought, okay, yeah, that seemed like a good idea at the time. Not now, at the time. So I would just take on few jobs here and there, and I think in the beginning I started for free, just to see how it was and if I would like it. And I remember when I got my first paying job, I think it was around 100 euros or something really low, because I didn't want any high stakes involved, but because I liked it, it was something that I had fun doing. It wasn't because of the money, I just did it anyway. So what I did was I just took orders here and there, nothing too big. And I think at the end, I think in the whole year I made like 500 to like 600 euros, nothing too much. And by the time I saw that I was making that much, it wasn't a lot of money, I went straight to the Ausländer Behörde and also my local amt, and I made sure that I asked at each one, like, here's the situation I have. I'm an Ausländer, I have a full-time job that I'm allowed to do, and I have this hobby that I want to offer as a side hustle. And I think here it's called a Nebenjob. So what can I do to make that legal? Like, would I need a license, and what would that look like? At the amt, I found people who were willing to help and people who were ignoring me. But again, like I said, ask everybody you can, be as annoying as you can. And from the information that I found, what they told me was I will have to apply for this on the side, and also bring like evidence of the work that I'm doing on the side. So I had to make like a little portfolio, and I also shared the invoices that I already had. But again, it wasn't a lot of money. By then I had made like 500 euros to just show them like, here is something that I want to do on the side and all of that. And I also had physical copies. Then it was physical copies that they wanted, and not just put everything online. Now I think nowadays you have to put everything, you have to upload all those things online, and then they will have a look and make a decision about it. But I remember then I did that, and within like 3 weeks or something, I got an appointment and they renewed my visa, or like they revised it that I was allowed to work full time where I was. And also I had a Zusatzblatt, which is like an addendum to your visa, that stated that I was allowed to do calligraphy on the side also. The other thing that I added in was a business plan. If you look at I think I made a video a while back about moving from a work visa to a freelancer visa. Some of the things that I listed in that video were that you need a health insurance, business plan, letters of intent. You don't need all of that. What I would pick from that was, the only thing that I needed, I'm trying to remember now, is like I had to do a business plan, I had to submit an application form, and then I also had to show my finances. I also had to show that I was working, so my employment contract. And I also had to, what last thing I also had to share? I think the last thing I also had to share was like a portfolio of the work that I had made. And I also had to share invoices that I had shared with the clients. And another thing that I also had was like, since I learned it online, I also had like a certificate, I think from Skillshare, because that was how I learned. I think it was just a screenshot to show that yes, I learned these things online. That was what I did. So I just put as much information as I could in there. But again, I am the queen of doing too much when it comes to admin or like government stuff, because what I've learned is give them everything that they've asked for and things they haven't asked for, so that they cannot say no. So I did all of that, and within 3 weeks I got an appointment and it was approved, and I got the Zusatzblatt. The next thing you need to do is ask your employer for the permission to do the side hustle. Now, usually for my case, what I did was, because it's like a thing that is not directly connected to work, it was seen as a hobby. So I just went into HR and I was like, hi, I want to do this stuff on the side. Is it okay if I do it? And they're like, yeah, sure. So far it's not within work hours and it's not affecting my work in any way, and I don't work with a client that they already have or a competitor, I'm fine. And I think this is very important, because if you violate any of these rules, I think it's grounds for your employer to let you go. So you have to, I think it depends again on the company where you work at. In some places they don't care as much, in some others you need to get a written consent. And there might also be a situation where your employer might say no, like you're not allowed to do that even outside work hours, because they just feel like they own you. I don't know. There are employers like that, but again, you need to follow what your employer says, because they are your main source of income and they're mostly responsible for you. So from what I've heard, since this is a side hustle, you are not allowed to do more than 18 to 20 hours a week, because it's a side hustle. It's not supposed to be your main thing. But I remember for me, I worked a lot on the weekends and after work, because it was more like a hobby, and I didn't do more than, I think, 10 to 15 hours every week. And it was more like I didn't have a lot of real work. It was mostly just practicing in the evenings, and then if I have something that came in, then I just worked on it immediately. I mean, it didn't take so long. I think the only thing that took me long was when I set up my Etsy shop, like preparing everything, making the photos and all of that. But it took me a while to do all of that. I'm making like digital products, making a font, all of that. So I did all of these things on the weekend after work, not during work hours, because again, if your side hustle affects your main work, you are giving your employer a reason to let you go. You have to also remember, this is not a second job. You cannot treat it like it's a full-time thing. It's a side hustle at the end of the day, because if you do that, you're asking to be moved into the tax class 6, which means that you'll be taxed heavily than every other person on the planet. So think about that. Next is huge. I think I spoke about this in my work visa to freelancer visa video, which I will link somewhere above here also, or I'll put a video here. Not sure. Yeah, you have to know if you are a freelancer or a Gewerbe. This is really huge, even as a side hustle, because many people have gotten fined over this. So you have to know which area you land in. Freelancers are, I think I said this before, freelancers are mostly the artists, the people who offer services like freelancers, writers, artists, and I even think teachers and translators and things like that. Gewerbe, I think, is mostly retail and trade and some other areas. And I think if you do YouTube and you are getting money from YouTube, it's also classified under Gewerbe, but you might need to have a look at this also. But if you're not sure, go to your Finanzamt or ask a tax advisor. Now, I wasn't sure which one I was in the beginning, but as soon as I went into the amt and I asked them, like, here's what I want to do, it was easy to classify me because it was under art and it was a service that I was offering. So it wasn't such an issue. I think you need to have a look at where you fall under, and there might be situations where even the amt isn't sure where to group you. And you have to like start with caution and have it in the back of your mind, like, okay, if you pick the wrong one, you might have to pay back taxes for picking the wrong grouping. So it's something to really think about. So either ask your tax advisor, or ask at the amt, or ask at the Finanzamt. That really helps a lot. So do what I did. Get an appointment with a tax advisor and figure it out with them one-on-one. Let them help you also fill out your tax forms. 1 + 1 scares me. So I know my weaknesses. One of my biggest strengths is knowing my weaknesses. So I don't play with finances at all. I don't even, just leave me in my corner over here. Now, as a side hustle, you'll be seen as a Kleinunternehmer. I think I write it. Yeah, somewhere on the screen. A Kleinunternehmer, and with this you can earn up to 25,000 euros tax free. Now, just because it says it's tax free does not mean you should not declare how much you earn. You have to declare it along with your regular employee income. Do not hide anything from the government or the Finanzamt. So even if you earned 100 euros and you're ashamed of it, if you earned 100 euros in the whole year and you're ashamed of it, you're thinking, nobody will know, nobody will care, declare it to the Finanzamt. Trust me, ask me how I know. Making only 100 euros in the whole year, see, ask me how I know. I've been there. Don't hide anything from the government, because at the end of the day, if your side hustle, not if, but when your side hustle becomes bigger, you can already show the amt, like, okay, here's how much I've been making so far. There's a record that you've been freelancing for so long, or rather you've had a side hustle for so long, and now it's grown to this exponential thing that can potentially replace your income, which is really awesome. And another really awesome thing is, as a Kleinunternehmer, there's a phrase you can add to your invoices. because you don't have to add the VAT on there. I will put that phrase here on the screen, and it basically means that because of a paragraph in the law, as a small business, you don't have to collect taxes on whatever it is you do. And I used this on my invoice for years when I was freelancing on the side. So I think it also helps a lot with your bookkeeping to have that, and your tax advisor or the finance arm sees that you're also not charging VAT. Because once you do, even if you're under 25,000 euros and you've asked for VAT, I think the finance arm is allowed to collect that money from you. So don't do that. But again, I don't know. Ask your tax advisor. I'm just a random YouTuber just sharing what I know. When you are making goals for your side hustles, make sure that you don't go higher than what you earn at your full-time job, because once you do that, you're going to be seen as having two equal jobs, and then you'll be moved over to tax class 6, which I mentioned before, which I think is the worst tax class, and you are taxed heavily to kingdom come. If you feel like, okay, you're earning more on your side hustle than your full-time job, I think it's time to reevaluate. Like, would you like to stay at your 9 to 5, or would you rather start your side hustle as your full-time thing if you're ready to take that leap? Now, I'll leave some links below so you can read more and educate yourself. But I would say, if you have an idea and you're just thinking about it, just start. Maybe don't ask for money in the beginning, or maybe just ask for as little money as you can, so that you're on the right side of the law and you can catch up with the law much later. Don't let overthinking, researching, fear of starting, all these things that you have to do, don't let them hold you back. If you want to open an Etsy shop, you might not get a sale within the next week or the next month. If you want to start tutoring students, or maybe teaching kids English after their classes, you might not get a client in the next week or the next month. If you want to start, I don't know, translating for other expats, start. See how you like it, and if it's something that you want to do, then get things in order. But one thing I will also say is, do not do work and then collect money under the table. That is illegal, really. That's just plain and simple. And if you want to start and you're already collecting money, declare it to the government. Don't just take money and hide it and then expect that, okay, nobody saw, so it's okay. Because if they find out, maybe a problem. Because if you on your invoice, if you have an invoice, or if the other person recorded that, yeah, they paid you for a service, but you didn't record that you collected money for that service, it's a problem. And last thing I would say is, don't do things that might need a huge license or like an approval to do. So like things like being a lawyer on the side, being a nurse on the side, that's just stress and headache. Do little things that you can easily start with little or no money or income, something you can start at home. So things like digital products, giving a consult to somebody who needs your help or your expertise, one-on-one, maybe even YouTube. That is a start, because you don't really need much to start it. And I even plan on doing a video on different side hustles that expats in Germany are able to do, and maybe even rate it, like, okay, this is good but it's a lot of work, or this is horrible but it's easy. I don't know, something in the works. Stay tuned for that. So if you have a side hustle and you live here, I want you to share it with me. Share your experience already with me, like how was that and how is it for you? How has it been? Has it been easy, hard? So even if you've been doing your side hustle and you haven't earned any money, ask me how I know. Share it in the comments below. I'd like to hear your stories, your thoughts, your experiences, what you've been through. Let's share it in the comments below. So don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Peace out.